Good evening, everyone. I figured we'd get started now. It's about quarter of 7, and I just want to thank you for interrupting your lives and coming down and listening to me spiel.
You got us off Facebook, I mean, what the hell?
Somebody the other night, I was somewhere, and they suggested that I start with this, and that, you know, I know everybody had a busy summer, hopefully, and we all survived it, and with the number of people that came, you know, I think we had more than our share of people. So I think that once I'm elected, I'm going to build a wall around the island, and I'm going to have Nantucket pay for it. So, not to offend anybody, but they wanted me.
Cargo truck.
Yeah, they don't know that yet, but I'm going to see what I can pull off. So somebody wanted me to say that, so I did. And I try to be a man of my word, so I can go back and tell them that. The reason why I got this event, or put this event on for tonight, was during my travels around during this campaign run, I had people express to me that they wanted to see a forum or a debate of both candidates because they wanted to be able to ask the candidates questions and see how each candidate handled the question. Originally, we thought that the League of Women Voters were going to do this, and then we found out that they were only going to do that with the state senate race and state representatives. They did send us by email or media questions that we had to respond to. I know I did mine. I sent it to wherever it had to go, and I still can't find it. So I don't know what they did with it. I don't know if they did it with the other candidates, with the other races or not. I have no idea. And then, you know, also the paper gave us questions, and we answered those, but they only allow you to say so much, and there's so much more to be said. So that was one of the other reasons for this. I would have had hoped to have done this earlier in the summer, and but it wasn't available. It would have been nice to have got a larger turnout, but you get what you get and you go with that. I'm a little nervous, as you can tell. My heart's racing, and this is one of those things that I'm not very comfortable with, but I do it because it needs to be done. So sometimes you have to rise above that and do what needs to be done. I did reach out to my opponent, Mr. Ogden, last week, or my committee to their committee, and their response was that they wanted the third candidate here, and they wanted the questions already formed, and we hadn't. I originally was going to have Coach T as the moderator because we both had done Coach T's Tank Talk, and I thought that he would have been fine for the both of us. And for some reason, that wasn't acceptable. So last we knew that they weren't going to participate in tonight. I put it in the paper to still invite them, to let them know that they were welcomed, and hopefully they would show. But okay, we just go with what we have here. I wanted to, for those of you who know me, or those of you who don't know me, I'm Marc Rivers. I've been on the island for 45 years. I moved here from Boston back in 1972 to live with my grandmother. During that time, the reason I always summered here, as far as I can remember. There's several reasons why I moved here. One of them is that my parents weren't together and they had addictions issues. And the other one was that's the same time that they started busing in the city. And my grandparents and my mother didn't want me bused to another section of the city. So all my friends were going to school. I asked if I could go to school, and that was the beginning of me being on the vineyard. I don't know, can you guys hear me okay? I'm not used to holding the mic. I'll get better as time goes on. I started in the 3rd grade. I'm just going to give you a rundown, kind of give you an idea of how I became who I am. Started in the 3rd grade in Oak Bluff School. Went through school, graduated out of the 8th grade in 1977. Went into the high school in 78. I've been this size since 3rd grade. I've probably gained about 50 pounds since then, but I've been like the biggest kid in my class. And during that time, a lot of my classmates came to me for whatever. I was kind of cast in that role as a leader. In that time, I always wanted to be a psychiatrist, but then it took too much schooling. So I was like, I can't do that. So my other career that I wanted to be was a police officer, because that was a career that I felt that you could help other people. And I had kind of this beginning of helping people at an early age. And I was a pretty decent athlete going into the high school. I went through the high school. I graduated in 1982. That same year, a month before I graduated, I had a son. My son was born in May. I graduated in June. I went off to school, to college. I went to Bridgewater State for a year. I missed my son, so I came back home. I didn't finish school. Having come from a separated family, a dysfunctional family, I always said that if I ever had a son, that I would be there for my son. So I came back and worked on the island, pumping gas, doing what you have to do to provide for your family. I was still with my girlfriend at the time. We eventually, when my son was 4, I was going to go to the state police. That was around the time that a lot of officers were getting killed, and she gave me an ultimatum, stay here with us, or we wouldn't be a family. So I ended up getting married at the age of 23, and my girlfriend, ex-wife, was 21. So we got married. We went on and had 3 more children. By the age of 26, I had 3 sons. I owned a home, and I continued to live in Oak Bluffs. I lost my mother at the age of 30. I lost my mother when I was 31. That was in 1994. And at that time, I wasn't prepared for that. I expected moms, they always fix boo-boos, they're always around. That was a turning point in my life. That's when I went to my wife and said that I need to go to the police academy. I needed to fulfill that dream that I wanted to do. And she understood. So at the age of 33, with the help of my family and people that supported me, I was able to financially put together the funds that I needed to get through the police academy and provide for my family for the 6 months that I would be away. I recall, I never had any military experience. The first day at the police academy, getting screamed at and standing there and taking it, I called her that night and said, I don't know what I got myself into, but I can't come home, can I? She said no. So I was able to get through that and come back to the island. And I was a special in Oak Bluffs. I was one of the first bike officers in Oak Bluffs. My partner, we were known as Salt and Pepper. I was salt, he was pepper. You know, we did what we did. We did a good job. We helped a lot of people. And that was the beginning of that career. I had put in several applications to get a full-time job on the island, off the island. In 1997, I was fortunate enough to be hired by Edgartown PD as a patrolman. I went and worked in Edgartown for a couple of years. There's some things that I want to address or speak about because it's come back to me that these questions have been brought up. And I'm leading into that, so I'm just letting you know where I'm going with this. We all have had highs and lows in our lives, and unfortunately, all of my time in Edgartown was good times. I met the community, I did well with the community. My chief at the time was Chief Paul Conlon. He emphasized that you needed to know your community. And that's what I did. In 98, my wife and I separated. There was an incident. I won't go into details, but I will say that I owned my part in that incident, and it takes two people for that to take place. That incident taught me or showed me to look at myself, and it helped me educate myself. And by doing that, the domestic violence part, it has enabled me to help others who might be experiencing things. And I try to give people whatever I've learned to pass on to them that maybe they can apply it in their situation. So even though it was a difficult time for me, it was also a growing time, a time that I could help others. So, unfortunately, I got divorced. I left, I resigned from the police force. And I say these things because I own everything that I've done, my highs and my lows. I have nothing to hide. And I freely speak. If anybody was to ask me any questions, I just tell you like it is. And that's how I am. But during that time, Sheriff McCormick called me, and he said, Mark, I know what kind of guy you are. I want you to come and work for me. And that's when I started my career at the Sheriff's Office in 2000. And, you know, one door closes, but another one opens. And, you know, I look back, I mean, here I am in a race to be the sheriff, to head a department that I thought that could be so much more and do so many more things in the community. And, you know, had I still been at EPD, this would be my, I don't know, 18th, 19th year. I wouldn't even have thought of this, you know? So God works in mysterious ways. You know, that's how I look at this. So, my mind works ahead of itself. I'm all over the place. I'm thinking 4 or 5 things ahead of this, and I have to just backtrack a little. So I went there and I worked the overnight shifts for many years. I ended up working there for 13 years, and the overnight shift. And I dealt with a lot of people, hands-on. You know, of the 3 candidates that we have, myself, Mr. Ogden, Mr. Maciel, I am the only one with the most hands-on experience. There's some things that have also come to me in this campaign. I'm not trying to bash my opponent or bring up anything. I just try to speak in facts and make sure that things are proper. When I was younger and I got my teenage years, I saw how politics, you know, the commercials on TV when one camp bashes the other camp, and I always said, if I ever found myself in a political position, I wouldn't be one of those camps. I would stay on the up and up and do things accordingly. I find my opponent is pretty accurate when he says that he has worked for the Sheriff's Department for 26 years. But the last 22 years, he's been in the school system, teaching the DARE program. He hasn't been in the house there, the House of Correction, the jail, working with the men and women that are there. Anybody now who's there that has less than, I retired 2 years ago from there, so anybody with less time than that, I haven't worked with. Anybody with more time than that, I have worked with. I know the issues that are at the facility. I've lived through those issues. I lived through those issues for 13 years. You know, the morale at the sheriff's office is, as I'll quote it as it was said to me, it's at its all-time low. It's at its worst that it's ever been. I believe that I can change that because I was brought up in a team-orientated system where you worked as a unit, you worked as a team. You know, you have to have a leader to guide people and give direction, but you also have to trust in them and let them do. You can't micromanage it and do the work of everybody. That's why you have people in certain places so that they can do what they need to do. But yet, you need to be aware of what they do. I'm a firm believer that you have to treat your employees well. And that in turn, they will turn around and treat you well. In my 13 years of being at the sheriff's office, I stopped count at 50 50 people, you know, come and go. I can't even tell you the number of people who have left the comm center. You know, everybody knows that if you look in the paper, excuse me, you see that there's always a job opening in the sheriff's department, either at the comm center or at the jail house of correction. I would like to make the sheriff's office a place where a person wants to have a career and stay there. The comm center, the turnover rate is much higher than down at the jail. We are training people. We are training people for somebody else's benefit because they come back and then we don't retain them for whatever reason. I don't know yet. So that's one of the things that needs to be addressed. There's many issues that need to be addressed. I basically think that the whole department needs to be evaluated, and we need to look at everything. Maybe some things just need to be tweaked a little to be improved, or we need to maybe revamp the whole thing, but things need to change. And the leader of the sheriff needs to be somebody that's willing to listen to the people in the community, and then the people who he has in his department, the head of certain divisions. And you know, it's not what I think things should be. I believe it's my department heads. It's how can I help you? What can we do to make your job better, to make they do their work day in and day out. That's not something that I would do, but I'm the one that would be able to find the funding or however we need to do it to make our department whole. I don't think the community knows anything about, well, I know the community knows nothing about the sheriff's department. They hear a lot of things about the sheriff's department. A lot of them are true. Some of them aren't. And if somebody was to ask me certain things, I would tell you, because if I know about them, I'm going to tell you from my experience. I'm sorry, I lost where I was going. There's a lot of changes that I want to do at the sheriff's office. A lot of more grant writing, you know, federally, state. Get as much money as we can possibly get. We need more programs. I don't know what they are until I get in there and I talk to people and I get out in the community and see what the community needs. I look at it like this. If I like cake and ice cream, you know, I shouldn't just buy cake and ice cream, you know, when I know that the community likes pudding, you know. So I need to get out in the community and talk to everybody and talk to people. And I say that because, you know, everybody talks about, well, do you know what the sheriff does? Do you ever see the sheriff anywhere? And I have to say that no, I don't know what the sheriff does. I'll let you know when I get there. But I think also you have to go the extra. You have to, even though you're tired, you don't want to do some things sometimes, you've got to do it because you're voted in by the people, for the people. You know, this is bigger, this is much bigger than me. And I understand that. So, and I want to give back to my community. I love this place. You know, there was a love-hate relationship. You love it, then you hate it, and then you love it again. Okay? I'm much older. When I was younger, I wanted out of here. Not enough action. Now that I'm old and slow, it's my speed. I can handle it. It also was brought to my attention, well, you know, I already talked to you about the domestic thing. There was something financial, something that I heard, and, you know, I've worked 2 and 3 jobs. Some of us in here work 2 and 3 jobs. That's what you do when you live on the vineyard. You have to make sacrifices, you have to make choices, okay? Do you pay this bill, or do you keep the electricity on? Do you pay that bill, or do you put food on the table? Okay, I've been there, all right? I've had good credit, I've had bad credit. I'm good now, though, but I've been both ways. And, but I'm saying this because I heard that was going to be brought up by the other camp. You know, those issues. And like I said, I have nothing to hide. So I wanted to put that out there. I don't give details because that's me, that's my business. But I'm willing to talk about it. I've always been a worker. That's just embedded in me. My father-in-law told me many years ago, as I had my 3 sons, those kids can't eat basketballs, Mark. And that kind of sunk in. So I've been a worker. I've always been a worker. I'm one that, if I work with a group of people, like I'll give you an example at the House of Correction at the jail, I always did things in a manner that if I thought that it needed improvement for myself, and for everybody, then I went and talked to the administration to try to get a certain, something implemented, so it helped everybody. Every time that I went to court and I gave testimony, and they hammered me on the stand because a certain thing didn't go accordingly, I came back to work and I passed that information on so it could be passed on to others. Sometimes you've got to be the guinea pig, and that's okay. I can do that because it benefits others. So, I've been involved with the community for a long time with my children. I have over 25 years, almost 30. That would make me, like, since I was 13. No, I'm kidding. But I have almost 30 years involved in youth sports, Little League, basketball. Recently, I'm currently the recreation director for the town of Oak Bluffs. I'm in charge of the lifeguards, Niantic Park basketball program in all the parks. We just did that renovation over at Niantic, and we've had a good summer. During the process, everybody hated us. But now that the park opened up and people are enjoying it, you know, it's been a success. The other things that I want to do for the Sheriff's Department, I'd like to get a new facility. I'm always thinking of ways and this and that. One of the ideas, I haven't even put it out there because you just, you know, with the questions and all that we were given, you just didn't have any room for it. But one of my thoughts were the state forest. You know, the state owns the state forest or runs it. We're run by the state. I would like to look into a facility out in the state forest in an area where the trees are all dying, the land's already opened up. I don't know yet, but I'm going to explore that. And one of the reasons is that I think that we could have a working farm at the facility. I think that we could have a detox center on the campus. You know, a lot of things could be done. I'd like to try to find money, explore. I don't know. You don't know until you're there on what you can do. But these are the thoughts that I have. I know that Plymouth County has They have a petting zoo. They have a working farm. I think the farm would fall under the agricultural of the state forest. That's something I want to explore. You know, we all have people who know people who know people. I still think the airport, from what I hear, or what I've been told, there's still a possibility at the airport for a facility. These are things I'd like to look into. When I wanted to bring this up, with the, I do my homework. I tend to do my homework. I try to do that so that when I do speak of it, I actually have the facts. I don't want to say things that I know nothing about, because if you do that and somebody has that knowledge and they call you on it, then they got you. Okay, so I do my homework. It's been brought to my attention when I did do my homework, the Dukes County Association. My opponent has been the president of that for over 20 years. This is all public information. You can go right online to the Secretary of State's office to get this information, and it's public. Come to find out that he hired the people that call you to solicit money. It's a group that calls. He hired this group to do that. In 2011, $107,000 was raised here on the vineyard. And out of that $107,000, the vineyard got $37,000 of 107. There's other years where the numbers weren't so high, but the percentages of the money going to different places is the same. I'm sorry, keep forgetting to put this near my mouth. It's over here, and I'm talking over here. It's one of these things, I guess. So where I was going with that is that my thoughts on doing better than that is that, first of all, I don't want to bash anybody or what should have been, could have been, because we're moving forward on this. My thoughts on that, when I did my homework and discovered that, my thoughts were, we have senior citizens on the island. We have 6 senior citizens throughout, in the different towns. They like something to do. We get the phone calling list. We divide it up among the 6 towns. We give them all 5%, 5% of whatever comes in. That's 30% of the money that goes to the senior centers. The other 70% goes to the association. But the thing that intrigued me the most, 100% of the money stays on the island. You know, and that's what it's about. It's about the island. It's about the vineyard. I don't know what time is it?
7:25.
Okay, there's one more thing I want to address, and then I'll open it up so you guys can ask me any questions, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. My opponent is saying, you know, integrity, professionalism, trust. The thing that really, looking at the paper last week when we all had our ads in and this and that, and like I said, I have people who know people who contact me and tell me things. And I asked my opponent about this at our very first forum. And I just want to read something here, if I may. It says, after 26 years working at the sheriff's office, he has earned the respect of many, especially his fellow employees, so much so that they endorse him to be their next boss. Somebody brought it to my attention that, oh well, I also saw it on his website. You know how you always, you're checking, everybody's checking to see what somebody else is doing and who does what. Well, on April 12th, my opponent put on his website a letter from the Dukes County Sheriff's Office, Makufu, the employees of the Sheriff's Office, that they were endorsing Mr. Ogden as the next sheriff. This was April 12th. At that time, only myself and Mr. Ogden were candidates. Mr. Maceo, who came out at the deadline, the very last week of May, was the third candidate. That letter has already been out by a month. When that letter came out, I got an email, and the email had said to me that the employees of the Makufu, it's called, the union, they haven't even had a vote yet. They hadn't had an official vote. The same person sent me emails, and I'm speaking factually, I have facts. I have facts, so if anybody wants to see me after, I have facts, because I like to have my homework done. That, they hadn't had a vote. And when I asked Mr. Ogden about this, he said that I was mistaken. I didn't know what I was talking about. And that my problem was with the shop steward. And I talked to the shop steward, and he said in a conversation with which is confirmed in an email that he sent to others, that he had to get that letter out there. So I'm just letting the facts be known, because I think the public needs to know all the facts so that they can make a clear choice on the candidates and all.